All right, I'm going to start going live here on the gram. Add a guest to be in your live. Can't think of anybody right now because this was really spontaneous, which is part of my personality. But I want to start going live and having some conversations. And then maybe in the midst of having conversations, I can kind of find somebody who want to be a guest on my podcast and we can get deeper into my podcast. Is one, I have two of them. One is He That Finds Me during my singleness journey. And the other one is Cheryl, Get Your Life Back with Cheryl. That's more coaching. The other one, He That Finds Me, is just having good conversations and hearing stories of overcoming traumatic situations, the challenges in relationships people are having, whether they're married or they're single, and getting good information, how to improve and enhance relationships, how to grow, all of the things really. And just being able to glean from people that I even have on a podcast as guests, wanting them to share their stories of overcoming something, whether they're married or single, but also too, I'm a person that learned from other people as well. And we never get too old to learn. I've been married 10 years almost, and I've been single, I say since 2000. Since 98. Wow. Unbelievable. I never thought that I would be single, divorced this long, because I'm a relationship person. I love relationships. I love people. I love to serve. But I just had some situations where, because, I'm at the age where they say the big old age, where I know who I am. I know my purpose. I know my purpose this season. I know some of my purpose going forward. And then I know there are things that God haven't even shown me yet. But I got an inkling, but I know my overarching goals. And so because of that, I've been able, let me just go back. I've been able to utilize and empower myself and maximize my time of being single. I've invested in myself, and I have a lot to offer somebody else. I know my value. I know my worth. I know my shortcomings. I know my triggers. I know my past trauma, like all of those things. I did my work, continue to do the work. I don't think it ever ends. I believe you continually grow, just like in Christ. As believers, we grow every day. Every day we walk out our salvation. Every day. I believe you should approach life the same way, right? But this is my question. My title is up there about empowering yourself, utilizing and maximizing your time. How many of you out there are single and wanting to get married? That I want to ask that question first. And I believe I put this on record so that way I can have a replay as well. And this is my first time going live, so I got to figure that stuff out when this video ends. How many of you out there want to be married? And once you answer that question, the next question is, what have you been doing to prepare yourself for a relationship, for a covenant, for a commitment, for a life partner? What have you been doing? How have you been investing in yourself? Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, all of the things. I want to know, because a lot of times, we're expecting a lot from other people, but we haven't done our own work. Sometimes we have unrealistic expectations. They don't line up. You want all of this from somebody else. But what are you bringing to the table, brother, sister? What you bringing to the table? What are you willing to give? What assets, what talent, what skills, what abilities, what creativity, what talents are you bringing to the relationship? What tools do you have to edify that significant other, your future spouse, in a marital relationship? First, in a courtship. For those of you who want to get married and believe in courting, I believe in the dating part too. You can do that to collect the data, right? Collect data, getting to know each other. But then during that season, after collecting and gathering, be prepared for it. Be prepared to share and articulate your needs, who you are, what you have been doing. And you know what? I found in my singleness, the more I have invested in myself, I feel like I'm enriched, which me also gives me more to talk about. So it opens up the atmosphere for more interesting conversations, better dialogue, because there's purpose. And what I mean by living on purpose, I am using every moment that I have to live with intention and purpose and doing things that give meaning in life, not only to myself, but for other people, because I know that I am a servant. And even as a leader, I'm a servant leader. That's who I am. So I got a chance to know a lot about myself during my singleness season, which has been longer than I expected. Anyway, I want to talk about that. So if you don't mind sharing, put it. I should be able to see. Let me see. We're telling more followers. I'll tell you, this is new. This is my first time. So this is it. This is going to be raw. Okay. I wanted you to answer those questions. So there was a twofold question. I got the question already posted for the first one. And I want to know the work. I want to know what you've been doing. How you've been living on purpose. What you be about? What do you be about? Who are you? What have you been doing? What are you bringing to the table? There's a whole lot. You can answer all of those questions one at a time, or only one of them, or all of them. And I'm going to leave this here. So, for the replay, I know it's my first time going live, so I probably won't have a lot of people on here. I may not even have one person, but it's okay. Because I want this to be posted. I want you to answer, because it's going to create some dialogue. So when I go live again, we can talk about it. Definitely talk about it. But I was intentional to my singleness because I knew I wanted to be married again. And so the investment that I did for myself, first it was for me. It was for me, God with me. It was for self-empowerment and personal improvement, personal development, and then fulfilling the call on my life, the purpose in my life for different seasons. Raising my daughter, who's an adult now, a wonderful adult. So there were seasons of my life where I served a particular purpose. There was a season of my life that it was not meant for me to be partner with anybody. And if it was, then that person was going to complement and supplement my life, and vice versa. His as well. But that didn't happen during the time I was raising my daughter. And what was most important was her emotional and psychological well-being after the divorce. And just really creating a good co-parenting situation, which that happened. So, and during that season, I was focused on getting my life back. Because when I did divorce, or after, when I was married, first of all, I dropped out of school in the 10th grade. And so there was a lot of stuff I had to do to get my life back. That's why my first podcast was called Get Your Life Back with Cheryl, because I know what it is to pick up planks and pieces and get your life back, and holding on to things and rebuilding yourself and being reintroduced to yourself and learning who I am, finding my identity, number one in Christ, but in the world. How will you have me serve in the world? Understanding all of that. That was a process. And I embraced it. I enjoyed it. And I'm still enjoying it. Even though I desire marriage, but I enjoy me. I love me. And so that is something else I can bring to a relationship. My self-love and my self-worth and my level of confidence. Because I've been empowered. That's why I put that up there. I've been empowered from so many different sources and areas, spiritually, educationally, going back to school. I said I dropped out. I went back to school, got my GED, associate's degree, bachelor's, and 2 masters. And I'm enrolled in a doctorate degree, but I paused it for a second because I've gone through some traumatic experiences with some losses, losing my mom, shifting and moving here, getting into a car accident, like a number of things that kind of happened consecutively. So I had to pause because then it started affecting my grades. And so I just withdrew from classes. And now I'm deciding if I want to go back to do that or do something else, right? But I found purpose in the seasons that I was in. And so there was a time for me to grow, to heal, raise my daughter, make sure she was good, invest in myself, get my life back together as I was stating, and doing what I needed to do for myself. And so I bring that to a relationship. I had to bring it to myself first. And then I wanted to become who I wanted to attract, who I wanted to be. Even though I had no problem attracting great, good men, but we just weren't compatible after my divorce. And even before, of course. But I got married at a young age, 22 years old. Met my ex-husband. I was 19. So I got married. I did understand what marriage was, but there's still parts of me that, how people ask you the question, what would you do differently? The only thing I would do differently, if I've known better back then, life is about learning and lessons. I would have invested in myself before I got married. I would have went back to school then, figuring out, again, my identity, what I want to do in life, what my passion is, what my purpose is. But we did get married young, and that's the time where you're learning about you and learning more about the world. You're learning about relationships, and then how healthy relationships, what they look like. That's the time of learning. So sometimes we may go through more struggles when you get married young, because you're learning all that stuff. Your brain is still developing while you are so young getting married. So you're trying to figure you out. You're trying to figure the other person out. You're trying to figure out life. Then if you have kids, you're trying to get the parenting, because everything is on the job training. Absolutely. But like I said, I thank God, because my life has been a progression in many areas. And so I love it. And knowing God was with me, never forsakes us, right? He's with us through the flood and through the fire. So I never felt alone. I've never felt alone. And then because I am a social person too, I've always had community around me, friends, church family, and family. I have no problem connecting with people. I easily connect with people. So that was also my strength. Those are my resources. Those are the people that was in my village, because it takes a village to grow, to raise children, to thrive. Because we learn from each other, we edify each other. So I had people to lean. That's why I thank God for the way that I serve in the world. I love to do things that help enhance the quality of life for other people. If I can play a part of their journey of healing and maturation and all transitioning to greater things, I love that. I love that. My God. Just embracing life and looking forward to good things and greater things and learning and expanding so much, so much. And so with all of that, I have more to share. And that's what I was talking about before. More things to talk about. So your life becomes more enriched when you are busy about purpose and meaning. You have a lot more to bring to a relationship. There's so many things you can touch on and talk about and discuss and explore and discover. Everything. My God, and relate and compare in a good and healthy way. I don't mean compare in a negative way, competition, but I mean to compare and connect with each other's stories, understand each other. Because when you spend your time not doing anything and not investing in yourself, you don't have a lot to offer. When you invest in yourself, when you're growing, when you engage in the activities that constantly feed you, then you have more to pour out, because you're building yourself up. You become edified on so many levels. Then you have a lot more to bring, to offer and provide. You be able to compliment that person. I was talking about that before, right? Attracting certain people is what I was talking about earlier. I had no problem with that before. But when I started getting more intentional, as I knew who I was when I was single after my divorce, and then doing my singleness up until now and continuing, I know who I am, and I know the type of person I desire and need in my space, in my inner circle. I did a video earlier, I don't know if I'm posting it before this or after, where I talked about what attracts me to a person, and not only a significant other, friendship, a commonality. The way we process and think, our cognitive processes are similar. We kind of think about things similar, and I connect with people on that level easily. So yeah, if you want to say I'm sapiosexual, you can say that as well. I'm stimulated by intelligence. I love it. I like a person who can go deep, because that's who I am. I realize that's who I am. And what I also love about what I've learned in my singleness is I don't apologize for it. Don't apologize for being different, even though we are different. But you know what I mean when I say that. We are different. We have different life experiences. We may think of things in a different way. We have different perceptions, different perspectives. And that's based on our life experiences, things we have gone through, trials, tribulations, trauma, all these things. So it's shaped and influenced the way we think about things, think about people, perceive, which we need to become self-aware of. Another thing to do when you're single is becoming self-aware, where you came from and how that impacts your life today and going forward, as it relates also to relationships, to parenting, to friendships, to work, to business. You're going to show up in every aspect of your life. So you need to have that level of self-awareness, which helps to inform your partner, who you are, all of that. So yes, I like that the deep thinker. I'm a thinker. I realize that. And so I know that about myself. So I don't apologize I don't apologize that sometimes I like to go into the deep part of the ocean. Because I'm light, like I said before in the other video. I'm light, I'm loving, I have a lot of laughter, joy, I'm humorous. Oh my gosh, I love it all day long. However, there are times I might like to go deep, be that ditcher, what do you call it? A ditch digger? Yes, I like to go there sometimes. Let's explore. Let's make inquiries. Let's see. Where did this come from? Who said that? And why? What was their conditioning at the time yes, I like to go there sometimes. So when I meet somebody who can go there with me, I know that's what I need. But also have a balance and relax, where we could just chill and just relax and cool out and just enjoy life, being present, always being present. Because all of those areas you can be present. Whether you just relaxing and chilling or you are going deep, you can be present, attuned. So anyway, I said a lot. Nobody has jumped on yet, but I expect somebody to comment, give some feedback, join me in this conversation. Because I don't want to continue to go on and then we miss the whole purpose of it, the question, so that way I can get your responses, all of that good stuff. So I just know I have to establish a time. Because sometimes I want to do it spontaneously. I like spontaneity. I am that too, as well. So before I establish a day, I don't have a day in mind yet, because this was really like on the spur of the moment, like, I'm going to go live. I just did a recording, but I decided to go live after I finished my dinner, and I'm getting hungry anyway, so I won't be on here too much longer. I'm ready to eat my grilled salmon I made. I made some cornbread from scratch. I made some sweet peas, some corn. What else I got up there? I have salad in the refrigerator. Black-eyed peas. How could I forget the black-eyed peas? You got to sop it up with some cornbread. Come on, somebody. Yes. No, I always knew how to cook. In case somebody's wondering, did you learn how to cook in singles? I always knew how to cook. I was one of those children whose mothers made them. There was no asking. There was no negotiating whether you're going to cook or not. That's the problem today. But I loved it. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed cooking. I didn't look at it as a tax. It was a way, my mother made it as an enjoyment, because it was a way that we connected and talked and shared things about life and all that. So she made it fun. We can have another whole live about parenting and all that good stuff. Anyway, I used to be a parent coach for like 3.5 years. But anyway, that was the way we connected. So, and my mother's from the South. She's not here with us today, but she's from the South. So I learned a lot about hospitality. That when she shared her childhood with me, she said she loved her childhood growing up in the country. She didn't grow up poor, so but they always had enough for other people. But they all were taught to always prepare enough, because you never know who's coming by. Remember, they didn't have the internet. We know that. We didn't have, phones eventually came out, and they got a phone and a TV. They had all that stuff. But in her younger years as a child, when they didn't have all that, they always thought about their neighbor. That's another thing I love. I am altruistic. I love doing things for other people. And so I love somebody who's willing to share. They're not stingy. So when God lead them to give, they're not fighting God. It's like, give. If God said give it to that person, give it to that person. Because if you have a relationship with the Lord and you know him, there's a purpose in it greater than you probably can even see it. Of course, it doesn't mean we're not going to have moments where we like struggling with God and like, Lord, why? Really? Do I have to? That's natural, right? Sometimes you like, it's a little fight and a challenge. But at the end of the day, you want to please the Lord, so you end up being obedient anyway. We all go through that. We're human. Right? Sometimes we go through that. We catch a little tantrum. It's okay. But she taught me that based on how she was raised, how to be hospitable, how to always look out for your neighbor and community. And she grew up, she lived in one of those houses where, first of all, my grandmother who raised her was very spiritual, loved the Lord and all this stuff. And so everybody came by the house. It was I don't know if it was the doctors, but she said the teacher came by, the pastors and preachers would come by the house for dinner. Stuff like that, where you can't hide and do too many things because your mom or whoever raised you is close to everybody like a big old family. She said she couldn't wait to get from down south after she graduated from school, because she said she was not going to live on anybody's farm raising 10 and 12 kids. Too funny. And everybody she met that was good looking, she said it was her cousin, so she couldn't get, because my family is big on my mom's side. Oh my God. And the bulk of them are from South Carolina. Now everybody's all over. People have kids and they spread out, which I love, because I can stop in a lot of different states and find some family members to visit and say, I'm coming by, So yeah, I inherit that from my mother. I inherit that from my mother as well. So that's what I bring. I want to know what you bring in. What you bringing? What's the good stuff you bringing? I don't want to talk about the baggage tonight. We're not talking about that. We talking about the good stuff, the values, your assets, anything that can enhance a relationship, a new relationship, your future relationship. And even if you maybe just met your person, you can still share. I want to know what you've been discovering about this person and vice versa. And how was that experience? What work did you do to prepare yourself? And can you see the difference between having maximized, empower yourself, and utilizing your time of singleness, your season of singleness, to prepare yourself to be a wife or a husband? The work you did holistically. Let's leave it like that. Okay, so I'm bouncing off of here. And this is a new Instagram account. I just started maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's growing at a decent pace, so I know it's not a lot of people on here yet. I'll get to share this, but it's all good. It's still here. Anyway, thank you so much. I look forward to reading your comments. And then whoever wants to do this again and we can collaborate and let's talk about it. Let's just get in and dig in. Let's lay it out on the table. I have a whole because I do premarital coaching, relationship wellness strategy, and strategist. And I have a whole system that I created, and it's like a questionnaire, and it prepares you for marriage. And my approach is, let's lay it all on the table. What are your expectations? What's your vision of marriage? What it looks like? And I'm talking about everything is on the table, from sex to communication, parenting, expectations, career, like, where do you want to live? Where do you want to move? How do you feel about, like, everything that you should discuss? What do you expect if our parents are getting older? Do you expect us to take care of our parents or put them, all of the things? A lot of things that people don't, a lot of times do not ask. And of course, I did that that was one of my projects when I was in grad school and seminary. I had to do something because one of my concentrations was pastoral counseling and pastoral ministry. And so we had to create a program or a system to help couples, right? Counseling and coaching couples. And so I designed my premarital workshop. I call it a premarital questionnaire. No, I call it an 8-week premarital program or something like that, where churches can use it, teachers, counselors, whoever can use it to work with couples, but couples can also utilize it themselves, whether you're married or even, whether you're not, you engage, pre-engage, because I added that in there, pre-engage, before we even get too emotionally attached to an individual, because it's easier to kind of pull away before you develop a strong emotional bond. You can really get to know each other and really see if you're compatible, really analyze and evaluate that situation. And so you won't make emotional decisions that are not healthy, that are not good, so I designed this. But what I wanted to say is I even added on to it over time. Of course, as I got older and grew and went through different situations, and learn from other people, and just being in the field of counseling and coaching, you learn more working with people. And so I added on things like there's situations I know some people who might have met somebody over a short period of time. So some things they didn't really get to talk about, like if my parent was to, as they get older and they need support, do you mind my mother and father? As a matter of fact, I've heard one person say that was the goal, period. His mom is moving in. And the wife is like, the new wife is like, they only knew each other just very briefly and got married. So that question didn't come up. So she's like, no. And they realized, that became a big problem. That's a big conflict right there. Because you have different ways of visualizing family or coming from different family backgrounds where he's very close to his parents. They helped him a lot. They helped him raise his children, especially his mom. And nothing is wrong with her right now, but it was something that came up, and wife is like, no, because she's estranged from her parents. So because she do not have a healthy relationship with her parents, in her mind, she expects him to move the way she moved and say, oh no, we're just going to put my mother into, he's like, oh no, I'm not doing that. We take care of each other, not my family. And so I asked him, I said, did you discuss that before you got married? He said, no. I said, whoa. And not that we can think of everything, but when we're at this age, you already know that your parents are getting older. And at some point, you may need to become a caregiver or just offer more support to your parents. So this is a discussion. So these are the things that we need to be talking about when you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and your parents are still around. Something to think about. I also know some people who, they're blended families. They didn't think about it, didn't have the conversation, the possibilities that can happen. Say you have children and their father or mother, something happens where they can no longer take care of the child. So now you have to become the full-time parent, but you have a new spouse who's not with it. That becomes a problem. So it's things like that I talk about and I bring to the table, because you need to know how a person feel about that. But you have to be honest. You can't say stuff in the moment just to keep the person, because it's going to come out later on. That's not fair to you or the other person. Okay, now that's going to be a conflict. Now we got a problem. Now you're going to be in my chair and couch and sofa, having this conversation. Anyway, I have talked enough. I'm ready to go eat. My cornbread is getting cold. Woo! I can't wait to hear from you guys. Thank